Peenya metro station has undergone a slow transformation over the last year and a half, from being a large mammoth, indistinguishable metro station from any other metro station to one that fiercely belongs now to Peenya. It belongs to Peenya because the people of Peenya are represented in it. It belongs to Peenya because the security guards who man those stations have their portraits on the walls. It belongs to Peenya because the scrap yards around Peenya have supplied the material for the installations in the space. And it belongs to Peenya because fabricators from around Peenya have come to make that station what it is. I'm using this word belonging quite deliberately because I think that in a city like Bangalore, where one can't now tell whether you're in Hennur or Sajapur, and there's one blanket look that the city or the outer ring of the city has dawned over the last 15 years. This sense of belonging to place, a connection to place, is hard to see, is hard to make visible. It may exist in people's daily routines, but it doesn't seem that one place is significantly different than another. And our aim through the Art and Transit project has been to build a place-based identity in a variety of different ways for the Peenya metro station as a pilot of a project that could really shape the landscape of Bangalore and have Bangalore have these small little spaces that become cultural hubs for that particular place, not any other.
In my opinion, working in public spaces involves attempting to understand the space and to then assume a certain role within the given space that begins to function as an expression of this understanding. I feel a strong sense of unease when I witness a passive acceptance of spaces that are built by a fixed set of norms filled with people who perform very defined roles. It is this unease that compels me to draw on more visible surfaces like the wall. When I first moved my sketchbook to the wall, I wanted to retain the spontaneity that the privacy of my sketchbook has allowed me. And it was with this in mind that I began using the medium of charcoal that I associate with my sketchbook on the wall. Having honed my confidence by working on these visible surfaces with charcoal, I chose to apply the same spontaneity to form when I finally reached the facade of the metro station. This piece began as an attempt to mock the scale of structures such as these and what they stand for. Through the process of execution, however, I was forced to grow less hostile towards the space. My interest through this sustained engagement was really centered on understanding the existing visual language of the space and then reinventing this language in a way that would emphasize its rigidity but still offer room for possibility.
So I was actually drawn to the idea of the form of a metro window itself, because the gaze of a passenger through a window is such a fleeting moment. If you actually pass something interesting like an anomalous kind of scenery, it's already gone by the time you've picked up on it, and your attention span has been able to register it, and you've actually want to think about it and ponder on it. You've already moved far ahead. And that fleeting moment kind of resonated with me very strongly with this idea of transient emotions that I was trying to capture around the disintegration of Peenya. So I've actually isolated a selection of different spots: abandoned factories, old crumbling institutions, architectural elements that seem like they were built for a certain purpose, like a very definite purpose, but have ultimately fallen into ruin. And it played into the idea of how there's always fidelity attached to the idea of ancient ruins, archaeological ruins, and ancient sites and museums. And there's a very similar kind of allure with the idea of urban ruins and contemporary ruins, which is what this project is actually about.
I entered art in transit with a state of mind that was, what is the point of the art I'm creating? Who is my audience? Is it reaching the right audience? In terms of a developing practice, I do see my time at Art in Transit as a progression from, even though it's built a lot on, previous ways of working, which basically is about spending a good amount of time inhabiting a place, listening, conversing, and being in it for ideas to generate from the place. Though it isn't always made for the place. And in such a case, the work travels to spaces with aware and interested parties that form existing viewing cultures of art. The difference with working in art in transit with the site and context of a metro station, that is every city dweller's context, is that it has the potential to reduce the distance of dissociation between a layman's notion of art and his acknowledging of it as a creative way of being. So the practice is more about finding ways, mediums, and forms to actively address and negate the homogenizing nature of our urbanity through participation, to create interventions that cause a passerby to look at his surroundings with a fresh perspective and acknowledge possibilities of different ways of living.
I think people should know like the origin of the space they are working in. The Peenya scrapyard would be a kind of a mother as a space, I mean, giving birth to some other spaces, which are the metro station.
What struck me in Peenya was when I spoke to whoever it was, um, there were certain instances in the conversation where I found similarities between what I was saying and what they were saying, even though we were from completely different backgrounds. So that's when it stopped becoming going there for research for my college project. It became more about going there for those experiences. Like, even though this will go out there, I'll be okay with it because it was filtered through by the public first, and then it's created out of that experience, and then it's going back out, rather than doing something and then having the public react to it.
This has been like an experience where we're outside of our studios, and that's not something I don't think no none of us have experienced before. I mean, I've dabbled in a couple of murals before this, but that's it. So doing this just site work for so long and creating something so big, I really want to do it again, and that's for sure. And the way that it sort of changed how I think about stuff is that now if you ask me to give you cafe furniture, for example, I'm not gonna go with your usual chair and table scenario, like not the usual commercial furniture, because I don't know, because it's just this whole, doing this entire thing and this process, that whole 1 month of sort of bringing it down, so it kind of makes me feel like it's you don't have to stick to just the regulation of what it needs to be. And that's, I think, something I needed, because somewhere in the past few years of studying furniture design, it became really really boxed, not specifically, but I mean, it became really boxed in terms of, okay, so, okay, you know, there's only these many curves you can do, there's only these many curves that the machine can do, okay. So that's how it's going to be. And those things I think I'm a little bit freer from now. So even if I go back to the studio now to just, you know, do commercial furniture, it's probably going to be a lot more different.
We have a lot of public art discourses present in Bangalore and well, also largely across India, that speak to various kinds of historicities. What we have, the opportunity that we have with art in transit is really through the rigor of emergent practice, hopefully practitioners, cultural producers, that in the coming, I mean, in the future really, produce a meaning or produce a template for public art practice that can collectively be seen as an emerging consciousness or as an emerging movement that has its bearings and its anchorings in location, context, and community, as opposed to empty formal strategies or technical manipulations that are quite honestly either out of date or totally out of context. So I guess that's the challenge and the optimism of working in a place like Art in Transit inside Srishti, because you really are in the forefront of really these rich and varied kind of ideas and experiments that sort of make your own presence as a practitioner in the public domain more meaningful.